Hello students and welcome. This is the first in a number of videos that we're going to review the NKBA design guidelines. What you see on my screen here is the online version or the digital version of the guideline book, or if you bought the print version you can follow along. This is the same thing. So what we have here is the second edition planning guidelines, and I'm going to start today with kitchen planning guideline number 1. So here we have kitchen planning guideline number 1, and I'm going to zoom in so we can read it. This guideline is pretty simple. It's talking about the width of a door. You want a minimum clear width of 32 inches. This translates to an actual door width of 34 inches because if you can see, let's point out right here at the door jamb, when you open the door, there is a blockage right here of the actual width of the door, and not drawn, but it would be right here. The handle of the door sticks out. So we're going to assume a 2-inch reduction in that clearance. Therefore, you have to actually spec a wider door in order to get that 34-inch clearance. 32-inch clearance. 34-inch door, also known as a 210 or 2-foot 10-inch wide door, is really common. That is the standard for residential interior doors. Now, scrolling down, let's take a look at the access standards that go along with this guideline. In general, I'd like you to read through and study the access guidelines, but we're going to focus on the first part of each guideline until we hit later in the semester a whole section on accessibility and universal design. We'll come back and really study each of these guidelines with respect to their access standards. So just so you know, the access standards are optional. They're not required by code for residential design in most cases. The exception is for multifamily residential. And so these would be used if you have a client that needs them, not necessarily for every client. So let's take a look, for example, at the access standard for kitchen guideline number 1. They are actually widening the door requirements to at least 34 inches. And that requires, remember we add 2 inches, that requires a 36-inch or a 3.0 door. Okay, so we're just widening it by a couple of inches. Also, take a look at this 18 inches right here. We need this extra clearance so that someone in a wheelchair can approach the door and have a little bit of room to move sideways and get themselves out of the way to pull that door towards them. All right, so extra clearance on the pull side of a door. Let's move on to kitchen planning guideline number 2. This one is very much common sense. Okay, and all about thinking ahead. And so what they're talking about here is that you should plan your kitchen so that every door can be opened and they don't bang into each other, no interference. So in the picture here you see a refrigerator door and an access door. And then if I scroll down, here's an example of appliance doors. This would be a dishwasher door folding down and an oven door. Okay, you never want to design a kitchen where those are going to possibly hit each other. All right, moving on to the access standard, there are far more complicated rules about clear floor space and access for maneuvering in a kitchen. And again, I'm going to touch on those later in the course. Here we are at kitchen planning guideline number 3, distance between work centers. I'm going to scroll down and read the note at the bottom here, scrolling down. So if you don't know this already, and we're going to study it in this class, Each major appliance and its work area is called a work center. So we've got three primary work centers. One is the cooking work center, one is the sink work center, and one is the refrigerator work center. Okay? Those three centers, if you connect a line from one to the other, will form a work triangle. So this kitchen guideline is about the work triangle. Let's scroll back up and read it. All right. In a kitchen with three work centers, which is standard, but you could consider that there might be a fourth, the sum of the three travel distances, so the three legs of the triangle, should be no more than 26 feet. So I'm going to trace this. If you add this leg and this leg and this leg, they would equal or less than 26 feet. And then if you're talking about any single leg, so any one line in between, for example, the sink and the stove here, it should be no less than 4 feet, so don't put them really close together, and so no more than 9 feet. So here's the two rules. Any individual leg of the work triangle should be in between 4 feet and 9 feet long. And then if you add all three legs of the triangle, they should add up to less than 26 feet. All right, here's another little tweak to this particular guideline. No work triangle leg should intersect an obstacle by more than 12 inches. So right here, take a look. This line right here intersects. Take a look between the cooking center and the refrigeration center. It intersects the island, and that is against this guideline. That's not a great design. Here we have kitchen planning guideline number 4, separating work centers. So remember our three work centers. We have the sink work center, the cooking work center, and the refrigeration work center. They are connected by counters. These ones are connected right here. And so the guideline here is that you should not put a full height, full depth, tall obstacle in between two work centers right here. So as someone is moving and working between these two, this blocks the natural flow of their work. Okay. So what could you do to fix this particular problem? Well, one obvious solution, depending on how everything else is laid out, is to move this wall oven on the other side of the stove. If that doesn't work out for some reason, then you can recess the wall oven, and here's a picture of a possible design solution. Look where this is pushed back, so someone who is working will still get their natural flow between these two elements. Here's kitchen guideline number 5. Again, this is one of those guidelines that really is about common sense. And it says that no major traffic patterns should cross through the basic work triangle. So your kitchen is part of your larger house, and you shouldn't have the main traffic flow from the entry to the living room or any other destinations go through your work triangle, because somebody's most likely standing there and doesn't want to be bumped. All right, those were guidelines 1 through 5. Please review. Make sure you take the quick quiz on this content, remembering that all of the online quizzes you can take up to 3 times, and I only count your highest score. So it really is more about learning the material and a tool to help you learn than it is about testing. And we'll move on to the next planning guidelines in the next video. Thanks.